Every day I wake up and I feel so alive. I think to myself.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Cheeky Cauldron podcast, where no topic is too spicy for the pot. I'm Ani Williams, and I'm joined with my two lovely lady friends and co-host, Mai Cherie and Tamika Soretti. We are having a very, very special episode this week because it is Mother's Day. Mother's Day is this Sunday. Friendly reminder, go out and get your cards, your flowers, make your reservations, and honor your sweet mother. Our guest this week has navigated the complex balance of motherhood while continuing to honor her own path and pursue personal passions. She is creating community by weaving together 25 years of working in the cultural arts, social impact, and home building worlds. Ladies, please help me welcome Celeste Quesada to the studio.
Welcome.
Welcome. We're so happy you're here.
I'm
So,
honored.
Celeste, this week we're discussing the complexities of being a devoted mother while still pursuing our passions, which is something that you seem to have navigated very well. And it's interesting because all of us are mothers and all of us have continued to try to pursue our passions and I think are doing it. But I really like that in what you're doing, it actually helps other people to pursue their passions as well. Like that's part of what seemingly is happening. So I want to do a deep dive into all this. But before we do, I have to give a very special shout out to my two co-hosts because these two women got on a plane and flew to Malibu, California to celebrate me. And it was what mothers do. Mothers hold space, they nurture, they make things work. Everybody is so busy, and I wasn't even going to celebrate myself. And they both insisted that I did. And my family and my two lovely friends here held me up in such a beautiful way. So my personal accomplishment is that I chose to go back to school in pursuit of my PhD. And the first major milestone happened last weekend.
Last weekend.
And everybody was out there and supported me and held me up. And it was phenomenal. So what I would love to do is first just give a real sincere thank you to both of you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. We love you.
Thank you for
We wouldn't have missed
extending, extending the invitation and including us in this journey with you.
Yes.
And then to make it even sweeter, my own sweet mother has passed on. She passed on during this journey. And so to have that sort of support was everything. And it was twofold. So can we roll the video of the commencement? I can still smell the ocean.
I know.
There we are.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
There's our girls.
I graduated from Pepperdine in clinical psychology.
Incredible.
There you guys
Oh,
are.
my
That's them up in the
goodness
stand.
gracious.
And commencements are so boring. It's not like they came out to a party.
We had fun. We had hot
There
chocolate.
I am.
There you go. You got it. Yay.
Yeah.
We had hot cocoa and muffins. We were good.
And
Yeah,
that's my
I think-
little girl that made me cry.
I think the kids were the most bored. They were.
Oh my goodness
There-
gracious!
And there goes my son.
All
Look at that
right.
And that's my husband.
And beautiful.
And they were all a part of it too.
Ugh.
That's
Yes,
my family.
look how
amazing.
proud.
And that's my extended family. That's everybody.
I love it.
That's the house where we stay.
Beautiful.
So anyway,
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It was
Bravo!
Yeah.
Congratulations!
We're so
That's
proud of you,
incredible.
sister.
It was a beautiful
We're so proud of you.
weekend.
Mm.
So the reason I'm talking about this isn't just to brag, and not only to thank both of you, really sincerely thank you, both of you, thank you. But But it's also, it speaks to what we're talking about, right? I had already gone to college. I'd already had a career. So me doing this was feeding me. And it was a long, thought out decision that I went back and forth with my husband about. Is this something I want to do? Because as you all know, when you're a mother to young children, it is your whole world. Even if you have a career, it is still your whole world. It still takes precedent
Yeah.
Absolutely.
as the mother. So, yeah, that brings me kind of to this area of motherhood that has really raised its head and become a phenomenon. And this is kind of where I also want to bring you into the conversation, Celeste. Loss of identity after motherhood is actually kind of becoming a problem that is no longer being shoved away. There used to be mommy's little helpers, which was actually speed back in the 50s. But, you would go to the doctor and they would give you like Quaaludes and speed and like, here, just go back to doing the dishes,
With your martinis.
Right. And that was back when it was like, no, I'm supposed to be fulfilled doing this. Well, then the 70s and 80s rolled around and the feminist movement took a shift and it was all about hitting the office. It was like, we are just like men. Look at our shoulder pads. We're exactly like the guys. And so I feel like in the 90s and 2000s, we're really trying to find that balance.
Mm-hmm.
That softness that we talked about during Divine Feminine, like there's a softness to being a woman, even while in pursuit of your dreams, while at the office, while being the architect.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a softness and a nurturing that happens. So how do you do that with grace? And when I did some research on you, Celeste, I said, she's really found a grace about this, a grace about including community, which to me is feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was a wealth manager who had an experiment in Africa, and they gave all the money to the women of the tribe because the tribe was going under, and said, if we give the money to the women, the tribe will grow. And it did, because of how our brains are wired and how we think. We think in terms of community.
Yeah.
Right? We're not just trying to hunt the lion. We're thinking about the children and the elders and our husbands and the men. And we're thinking about everyone. And so for you to clearly be this mother who, because I learned that your child won a national honor, National Honor
Society.
Society.
Together. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So here you are, this devoted mother who's making sure that, you're doing what you can to hold space for your children, but still also holding space for all of this over here. So if you could just share with our audience a little brief timeline. I would love to hear what your dreams and passions were before motherhood, how it shifted in the early years, and then how it compares now. Just those kind of three.
Okay. So before motherhood, during motherhood, and then in this chapter of my life.
Well, like the early years of like when you first started having the children.
That's the second one. That's the second chapter. Okay.
Yes.
So before motherhood, I think I was a bit of an adventurer. I loved to just explore. I had a lot of just kind of unabashed courage, it seemed. I had founded a nonprofit in my mid-20s called Cine Las Americas. And I was I really focused on social justice at that point, and I think I'm a first generation Mexican American woman. My mother was born in Mexico, and we had done a lot of traveling to Guatemala and Mexico, and I'm a native Austinite though, and I think even as a young person, I started seeing a lot of inequality and racism and and it deeply affected me. I could see how people were treating my grandmother different than my mother, than myself, and so it was kind of a calling at a young age.
You saw it being treated differently because of ageism or because of where they were?
Or how
Kind
she
of
because of the culture.
color palette.
How she
Oh.
looked.
The color
How she
palette,
looked, yeah.
yes,
Yes.
you
Oh, I
know,
see. Okay.
my grandmother looked very Indio, you know, indigenous features. My mother has hazel eyes, and she's the güera. She's got light skin,
Mhm.
and my father was very dark, and so you know, I've always been a little bit of a chameleon. Like during the summer, I
get
get
really
really
brown.
dark, and in the
Yeah.
winter, I get lighter. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
so
how I
I
am
kind of
too.
like change with.
Mhm.
So I was able to note some inequalities with that, but I think I also found that a real artistic passion, joy de vivre in my own life. And so I kind of combined a lot of those thoughts to create the Cine Las Americas. What I felt with grappling with some of these issues was if I could entertain people, then I could educate people in the ways of film, for instance, and storytelling, and to not, you know, make people feel badly about you know, they're kind of like obtuse thoughts or something, or guilty, but just like, let's learn together. Let's have a good time to see how, you know, different parts of our community together, things like that. So that was kind of my early pre-mama chapter, was very much in the arts. And I have a BFA in studio art, so I was an artist at that time. But by the
And
time
you wanted to use art to push
to elevate,
social agenda.
yes,
Okay.
to social agenda, exactly. And so I felt that instead of doing the art in those mediums of painting or photography or whatever, I started producing events. And in a way, I loved to pretend like I was casting a spell on a room
Yeah.
and just really creating a ceremony of, you know, storytelling or people, or just like elevating an experience. And got pretty good at it. Got pretty
Yeah.
good
I
at
would
it, you
say
know?
so.
I think that is such an amazing way
Uh-huh.
to describe a good event planner. You are casting a spell.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Adding
It was
little fairy
great.
dust.
Mhm. Grabbing hold of people's attention, getting everybody in the same vibe, and then just, you know, conjuring, uplifting, empowering people, kind of guiding them on a journey in a setting. So it was fabulous. Like I said, I had started Cine Las Americas, so it was an international Latino film festival. I ended up becoming the deputy director of the New York International Latino Film Festival, and left my hometown of Austin and moved up to New York and was doing great things up there. But my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, was not going up to New York. So I had to come back down to Austin. But
Well, Is Adrian an Austinite?
he is from
Born-
Laredo.
Oh.
He's from Laredo.
Oh.
Yep. So he's a Texan.
He's a
He's a
Texan.
Texan.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And kind of circling back around to what you were saying earlier about of how women have identified throughout the years with like the shoulder pads, or, you know, like that type of thing. I was at the time working for the BBC in New York, and I fared great in Manhattan. I was like, I love this. I was succeeding. But my husband to be was in Austin, and
What years were you there?
I was there twice, and I was there for probably like a year and a half. Like half a year for the first go round, and I was living in the Hamptons. And then the next time it was like a year and a half, just coming and going for work and this and that.
Like around the late 1900s, early 2000s?
Early 2000s, post 2001. So post 9/11.
You and
Yeah.
I were there at the same time.
Okay.
It was a great time to be
It
in
was
New
a
York.
great time to be there. It was a great time to be there. But I remember when I was making the decision to come back home. And there were a number of people who were like, you've got a great career. You have this, job. You're doing great. Like, are you really going to come back? And I was like, I really want to start a family. It was very important to me to start a family and to try to do that. I really wanted children. And so, some people were just like, I got thrown some shade for putting my career on the back burner for a second and going to have children. But I very much knew that that's what I wanted to do. And
it doesn't sound like you wavered.
I did not waver. I really did not waver. And so, lo and behold, we've been married almost 20 years. And
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. And it's been wonderful. But I knew that I had a lot going on upstairs. So I wanted my children. I wanted my partner in life, but I also wanted to continue to produce events and do good work in the community.
At what point did that start to kick back in?
Well, there were a number of meetings where I was just like, hang on for the ride, kiddos. We're going to be doing some breastfeeding during some meetings,
Okay, so
shortly after.
Almost right.
Yeah, I pretty much was conjuring ideas up at home, just like figuring out like, what could I do? What could I do? I just like my mind was kind of geared that way.
Did you ever have the really like clear, articulated thought of, I want to have children. I also want to continue to produce events. I have to figure it out. Or did it just kind of happen? Like you knew you wanted the children. That was clear. But it sounds like you never stopped. Like you never planned to stop.
It was an organic flow. It was an organic flow. But I just felt like I tried to operate from a place of abundance and to be positive and to be strong and just go for it. And that was like my adventurer side, just continuing on. And I think I had, there's a number of women that I feel so, that I admire, for instance. And so, yeah, I just felt like, well, let's do this. Let's do this thing. And, honestly, my mother is the oldest of 10. And so knowing that legacy within my own family, I was kind of like, I have no room to complain.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad thing, but it was like, I can do this. I can do this.
Did you have help?
No. Well, I am very close with my mother. But I didn't have like, a nanny or anything like that. I was just really like, I wanted my kids close to me and they were going to go on the ride with me. They went to, a preschool, Escuelita del Alma, which was next to Las Manitas way back in the day on Congress.
Yes, I remember.
And so but even then, I think my oldest didn't start going till she was probably like 18 months, something like that, because I really wanted to be with her. I wanted to be with her as much as possible.
Were there any moments? I'm sorry, I wanted to ask her when she was. Is it okay? Okay, yeah. I was like, were there any moments where you hit like a wall or a speed bump to where it's like, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off? Did you draw inspiration from your grandmother having 10 kids, or like, what was it that like really kept you going? Because I feel like the entire time up until now, you still maintain that connection to the arts and what you love, that community.
Thank you. I mean, I was just going to go for it, and I knew it was going to be difficult, and I knew there would be some sleepless nights, but I was going to make my way, I mean, I was married to a musician, so he's always been a musician. He's never quit a day job. And so it was really just kind of like we were going to hunker down and figure this out. And I will say that I really love my husband. I knew when we were just dating, and what actually drew me from New York back to Austin was that we really wanted family. Like when we were kind of like posing, well, what do you want? Well, what do you want?
Yeah.
You know, he always was real clear that he did want a family, and so did I. So it was like a real,
So you left New York and went to LA.
or to Austin, back to Austin.
You came back to Austin.
Mhm.
But then I'm sorry, I lost you for a minute. Then you said when you were in Los Angeles to Austin, did you mention that?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't
I
think
guess
so.
I just heard that. Okay,
Yeah.
so you just knew you wanted Austin.
Yes. So
your core values were lined up
they
with
were. They were.
y'all both wanted a
Mhm.
family and you're both artists.
Yep. Yeah.
So I remember when I decided to stop being an artist, right? To stop producing. I shouldn't say stop being an artist because I never thought of it as conjuring, but I really love that. But when I decided to stop producing, it was no longer fulfilling, and it happened when I found out I was pregnant, and it was unexpected. So I was super excited because I felt like, oh, I have another opportunity to be a mom, like, and really pay attention. Because the first go around, I did have a nanny. I also was very close to my mother. She had a lot, but I didn't get to spend as much time with him when he was super little. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop. We left LA. We came to Austin. Maybe that's why I heard LA. We came to Austin, and it was at 18 months. At 18 months, I was like, I'm not a stay-at-home mom. Like, it became like abundantly clear to me. Like, I don't want to go back to producing because it was taking too much away from me. But I was like, I can't just, this isn't enough for me.
Yeah.
And I understood how women get depressed. I understand how they start to lose themselves, right? And so I found something that worked. It sounds like with you, you never let yourself, like you stayed in grace about it. Like you kind of went with the flow. Like something's interesting here. I'm going to figure out how to make this work. And you never had like a really hard line.
I mean, I'm not, I think that there were probably hard days, but I don't think that I'm like, veering too far off, from my truth. I think that all mothers, along with that grace, you got to have a lot of grit.
Yep.
You have to have a lot of grit. I think with my daughter, Amelie, the oldest one, I also saw that at a certain age, they want to be with their little colleagues. They don't want to be with adults. They're curious. You see them wanting to form their friendships and things like that. And I also think that, I really loved our little preschool. It felt like a little tribe and very like-minded people coming together at that time. And I think that's a really great way for kids to learn how to share and to learn that, you have to share this toy that's always been yours. You have to give it and then you'll get it back, and learn some manners, like kind of learn the if you're, like in a bad mood or having like being a little shithead, then your friends aren't going to play with you,
Right.
So it's good for them to be in a tribal
So you're saying
setting.
that you don't see that preschool is just a place to dump your kid if you want to go back
Oh,
to work.
no. No,
I don't think so either.
Learn some manners.
Yeah.
But T, I cut you off earlier. You were going to ask a question. Did you forget?
Yeah.
Oh.
There'll be others.
Yeah,
there'll be more questions.
It'll come back to me.
Yeah. There is a psychotherapist by the name of Erica DeJosie, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. She's a psychotherapist and blogger, and she wrote something that I thought was interesting. It says, as moms, we often fall into patterns of toxic positivity as a way of coping with the invisible load of identity loss. So this kind of leads me into this space that you've created, because this artist space, I just really want to hear more about it, because it sounds like a place where artists can go, whether they're moms or not, but to kind of rediscover their identity. It sounds like that's something that has been part of your social agenda, to make sure that there is space for people to raise their vibration and tap into that. So could you speak on this space that you've created?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably changed, throughout the years, whatever that was. But I love people. I love women. I love men. I love sharing. I'm good at kind of, trying to get along with all different types of people, and with a lot of respect. I feel that. Along with, trying to communicate and understand and listen, I think humor is also a really wonderful kind of let your guard down, kind of like be real, be authentic. And so I think when I was in a position of creating a team, doing some team building, I mean, it was people like these two gorgeous, intelligent, brilliant women right here of just like, let's do this, like really pulling together a team and just trying to create a very positive work environment. But work was like, let's have fun. Let's do this. And if I'm the boss, you're going to also see me sweep, and I am not below or above you, and you're not below me. Like, we are in this together, Well, and so I think that doing that with some kind of creative, fun energy can go a long way. And I think you can transpose that not just in a creative setting or not in just like some cultural art setting, but everywhere you go. I think you can hopefully, have some of those little tricks up your sleeve to make a fun environment. So I'm not sure if that's really answering your question.
Well, I think it's starting to. It's starting to. And maybe I don't really understand because it was explained to me that there's a house.
In Lockhart. The house in Lockhart.
The Lockhart.
Yeah,
Lockhart.
Lockhart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Laredo because you said Adrian's from
Lockhart.
Yes.
Tell us about that
so
space.
recently, that was, all right. So we talked a little bit about that first chapter and then the motherhood stuff. And then, now I have a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old. And so the last so let me back up, and this will kind of thread it along. At some point, money was tight. My husband was touring a lot, and I was still producing events. And with kid number 2 coming along, I was like, we need more money. And so a couple of, guardian angels out there in my life were like, we see how hard you work, and we're going to open up this idea of like real estate and property owning to you. And we think you'll do really well. Now, so when I was starting that nonprofit, and I was a little cocktail waitress, goofball, living my best life, my mother had actually said, you should buy a piece of property. And so in my mid-20s, I bought a condo by myself.
This is why mothers are amazing.
Yeah. And I was really like, who, me? And she was like, yeah, if you're going to be acting like that, you need to buy a piece of property. So I did. And that actually was, I had a foundation, but as soon as I got that foundation, I springboarded off to feel like I had roots, but I could really travel. So I went to New York. I did all these things, but I always knew I had my place. So when someone, and it was like a little nest egg, but it made me feel secure. And I was also obviously accruing some financial stability, literacy, everything. And so, with baby number 2, and she was like 2 or 3 years old, I ended up getting my real estate license, and I felt like I was very judgmental about the real estate world. I was like, I don't know about this. I feel that I'm not like a smarmy person at all. I'm not very good at like, I didn't think I would, I didn't know about that world. I was very judgy about it. And so anyway, but I found a real tribe of women that all had came from a music industry background and were very creative. And they were like, look at what all you can do with real estate. And I was like, wow. And I said, if I'm going to get my license, then what I really want to do is, help all my creative friends learn how to buy property. And because I was already pretty well aware of the affordability Austin was going through, and that if I didn't help a number of my artistic friends buy property, they were going to be like displaced real soon. So I helped a number of different musicians in town.
It's such a fabric of who you are.
It was
this social connectedness. It's just, it runs through you.
Community building. It was literally community building. And so I just helped a number of different people. And then finally, I've had my license for almost like 11 years now. And so at some point I decided that we wanted to buy a second home, and we ended up doing that in Lockhart. And I kind of remodeled it and created this little sacred space to me called Casa Suerte, like the lucky house, and just filled it with my kind of found objects and art, and just really focused on positive energy in that home. And we share it with people that need a space to be creative, to kind of take that retreat that they need to, work on some, do some writing or some soul searching, have a collection of like tarot cards, and just a really beautiful, beautiful space. To open up.
This is the piece that I was really curious about.
Okay.
Because, and I imagine some of these people are mothers.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
What I've noticed is the people people who are artists who have taken on family, and they want the family. I don't want any misnomer. It's for Mother's Day. Like we love the family, right? But they've taken on their family, and there's like this low level of depression that happens. And part of it is because of that. There's no place. They've carved out no space for themselves. Be it just because of how they understand motherhood works, like from their own mothers, because they can't afford it, right? Like there's all these different reasons, and they want to create art for the sake of for art's sake, not because let me go figure out how to make a bunch of money with my art so I can then afford to make my art. Like I just want to be an artist. So that's why that was really exciting to me when they were like explaining the house, and I was like, I want to hear about this, because that is it's such a way to tether the community in a way that's like you're not out there on your own off in family land getting depressed. We're going to keep you tethered to your art, to your passion, right?
Yeah. I mean, I love to be able to offer that space, that home to people. Definitely have had mothers and daughters stay there. It's wonderful. I love it.
How does it work?
And well, I mean, it's not even very official, I mean, I ended up putting together a website about it because I wanted to kind of document my own process. And I also kind of wanted to rebrand the words homemaker. Remember that like homemaker?
Yeah.
It was always like Barbara Billingsley, like Leave It to Beaver, kind of like, I'm a homemaker. But
Betty
I was
Crocker.
like, no, I want to like create, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to create like a home. I am a maker of a home and this nest, this creative energy space. And so I did create this website to help document me working with, some fabulous guys that helped me remodel it and get down and dirty with everything. And then
you get to tap into your own creative side with that.
Absolutely.
Oh, and no, she has a very creative side, because I've been to the studio at the house, and like, when the front,
That's
put
right.
the tile down and all
That's
that stuff. And I was like,
right.
oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then I
have
think
to
y'all
see it.
redid the studio too.
Yeah. Now Adrian has his own different studio. And yes, casasuertelockhart.com. So you can see, pictures of it. And really, it's kind of word of mouth. We're not on Airbnb. And I'm real proud of that.
I
thought instead of like, find us on Airbnb. And I'm like, we're not on Airbnb. Period. Like, reach out to us and then we'll.
Well, I feel like I read there was an article. I don't know if it was in Tribeza or Texas Monthly, where I read about it. And I'm like, this is so cool. I can't wait to talk to you more about it. So it's like like kind of undercover, but still, I mean, it's in Texas Monthly, so it's out there. It is definitely out there. But back to the homemaker, I think that you as a, like, just not being a mom, but like you're such a nurturer. Even like when we worked with you, it was that community driven, nurturing part of you that is a homemaker at home and at work, and now with this space that you created. And I think that's just amazing.
What a compliment. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
You treat us like family.
Oh,
like everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, because I saw the same article, but like how long ago did this come out? Because knowing you for as long as I have, I think, I don't even remember how the first Texas Film Hall of Fame awards I worked on. But I had no idea you had your realtor's license. And when that article came out, I was like, oh, Celeste is something new she's adding to her tool belt. Yeah. Because I used to have my realtor's license, and I actually worked for J.B. Goodwin. That was not my space, but you know, it was something that I clicked, and I was like, oh, we have that in common too.
I know. Yeah. You have to carve your own way. You have to carve your own way. You know,
well, I did. Funny that you use that word, because that's what I was going to say. I was like, you have carved your way to express and work and move forward that works for you. And you've done it in a way that a mother would.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And I mean, if there's anything that I would want our viewers who care about this topic to take away, is that you don't have to give up that part of yourself. It's not this or that.
No.
I've known people who waited till the children left home. One of the people who graduated, it was like, that's my mom. It was some like 30-year-old, right? Like, it was, because, and I said, I bet that's another one where the mom waited till the kids were done with school, everything, so that they could then go back and do what they want to do. And you don't have to. You can use all those skills that you love being a mom and apply it to your passion. It doesn't, it's not this or that. And that is the part that I think you've done with Grace. I'm like, she kind of figured that out early on, right? That you don't have to choose.
Yeah.
And back to you talking about toxic positivity and you mentioning humor. I think it's really interesting because on Instagram, there's this whole movement of like moms behaving bad or whatever the case, where there's like all these memes and it talks about how we have to be positive regardless of what's happening. It's like we're juggling all these things, but we're also like when the kids are asleep and we don't have that time for self-care because we're so busy, you know, creating. And so when the kids are asleep, it might be for 10 minutes, we get to sit down and like veg out on something, you know? And so there's toxic positivity, but then as moms, we adapt and we look at it as like, we're still winning. We still have kids. This is what we wanted. And
when you say, I'm sorry, you lost me at the very end. So you're saying, because I was following you, but at the end, when the kids are asleep, you don't have to put on the happy face anymore.
No,
you can just be like,
our self-care is to do nothing. Our self-care is like veg out and, you know, watch our favorite show or eat Cheetos or whatever the case. And so these memes are based on that. The kids are asleep, or when we're in the bathroom, we have like 5 minutes to ourselves and then the kid's knocking at the door. You know, our kids are a little bit older, but like your Navy's not. She's younger, so you don't have a lot of.
I'm thrown back into motherhood with a 4-year-old granddaughter. But,
I know.
I mean, I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
At this age, I didn't think I would kind of be mothering again. I thought I'd be grandma, where I could be like spoil the mess out of her and then send her home and be like, okay, but home is my home. She's back, and I'm like, oh no, what did I do?
So before we run out of time, I just want to ask everyone here, because we're all moms, like I said. Like juggle, like how different it is for the dads, right? Because you mentioned your husband is a musician and he was a musician the whole time. It never stopped. And there was also no one questioned that. No one questioned him being on the road, being a musician. He had a lovely wife at home who was holding down the house and taking care of the kids, right? it doesn't happen that way the other way around. If mom decides to have, the couple decides to have 2 kids and mom's on the road all the time, it's looked at. You're gone a lot. You're working a lot. What about the kids? What is your guys' opinion of this? Because this is a cultural opinion, right? So I'm just curious how you guys feel about it.
I don't know how I feel about it because when my son, he's 34 now, was of that age, I did get to stay home with him till he was 5. I had went to school to be a medical assistant. That's what I thought I was going to do. But then, once he came, actually.
But there are people who would argue that you should pass 5. Like you should stay focused on the kids.
Well, them people should mind their own business.
No,
because mama got stuff to do.
That's what I mean, though. But my question is, if you were a man, nobody would question it. Nobody would judge it. There would be no, at what point do you go back into the workforce? If anything, it's like,
but that goes back to the
The
patriarchy, though. Like, we are still in a patriarchal society that they think men should be able to do whatever they want.
But what do you think?
I think it's up to the person. Like, if me and my husband, like, we don't have children right now, but all of our children are grown, but I am on the road a lot now. And he holds down the household while I'm gone. And so, but it's up to each individual. If that works for you, it works for you.
Here's my thought on it. A couple of thoughts. There are, if you have done a good job with not you've done a good job, but if your partner if y'all are meant to be together in a sense where you respect that man and that man is going to do you right. I will never forget. First of all, I remember when my husband was flying up to Las Vegas to perform with Prince all the time. And he would come home and deliver food because he wasn't getting paid very well at that time. And it was a short stint that when Prince was doing a residency in Las Vegas. And so he would still come home and people would recognize him delivering food. This was, years and years ago. And it was embarrassing for him to go in the back of a kitchen and be like, let me pick up the food because I'm getting ready to take it, whatever. But he made sacrifices. And I remember with our oldest daughter, when she was about 2 and he was touring a lot with Grupo Fantasma way back in the day. And she kind of like went through a moment of like not feeling like knowing him or something. And his heart was broken. And he was like, I'm not doing this. And I don't want to do this. And so he really shifted gears to become more of a producer person. And so he could stay in a studio and produce other artists. And so we've really created our life together with a lot of mutual respect. And like, I am well aware of his sacrifices that he's made, and he's well aware of mine. And when we feel that balance is getting wonky, then we can have some tough conversations about it. But we do it gently and respectfully and go through it. And I think that with the balance situation in terms of a relationship or for yourself or whatever, it's absolutely a verb. Like balance is like, now I'm balanced. It's like, no, it's every step of the way that you hold your balance. So it's an ongoing daily thing.
When it's a word that could be a noun, but you turn it into a verb.
I mean, so you keep that going and there's no guarantees. I think we both love our husbands, and I've always been a big fan of Julio and like seeing your partnership and how supportive he was of you and you of him. But I think that there's no guarantees.
I think it's
with life.
And I this is also what I want people to hear, right? Is that as a mother, part of being able to continue your dreams and to individuate and to have all those intersectionalities of I am a mom, I am a singer, I am a painter, I am, I don't know, an architect, whatever your passion is. In order to do that, it has to be normalized for the man to make the sacrifices too. So exactly what you guys kind of figured out on your own, I think that needs to just become part of the cultural malaise, right? Like it's just, this is what life is. Everyone gets to focus on their dreams and their passions and who they are as an individual.
Man or woman.
Man or
woman.
While
Yes.
also contributing to the family in an emotional way, like not emotionally neglecting their family, because like your husband said, that's devastating.
Oh yeah.
And for me, the greatest gift of going back to school was my husband, who never stopped doing what he wanted to do. He started out, he was a musician, then he went into film. So it was a gig, kind of flow. I understand that. Well, because of COVID, he ended up being able to work from home. I was able to do this program, and he now cooks for our daughter. Like at one point I got a little jealous because she wasn't feeling well and she was looking for daddy. And I was like, oh, you want him. Right? But honestly, it filled my heart with joy of like, wow, how great that she has this relationship with her dad. And it's not that women aren't close to their daddies who work and provide, but how many men get the opportunity to be that close?
Absolutely.
And I don't feel like we give men enough credit either in terms of like what both of your husbands, they both sacrificed for the two of you to pursue your dreams, and you're saying that with your husband as well. And so I believe that like we're not giving men enough credit right now. Like what you're talking about, I feel like it's not so much the patriarch. I feel like the scales are tipping to where it's matriarch, patriarch, divine feminine, divine masculine can stand side by side and both pursue their dreams and both be amazing parents. It's totally doable. It's happening right now.
I hope so. I hope I believe that. I do believe that. I think that there is enough men and women and, and women and women. We've got this whole new atmosphere of relationships that young boys and to teenagers, to young men are learning their sense of responsibility to a family, and we need that.
That's why, I don't know. I mean, I think you probably live in a lovely world with lovely people, but because that used to happen to me in LA, I'd have my little bubble and I'm like, the world's doing great. And then I would move outside the bubble, and like there are things that I have mothers coming to me talking about their sons and the messaging that they're receiving. And I'm like, whoa. This is, we're not moving. The dial's not really moving.
But with the three of you, it is. All
and
three
the
of you are examples of
is
that.
still in
But
control.
look at our little bubble.
Yeah,
all of us, we are friends. I'd hang out with her. Like, I mean, we're all like.
And I co-parent, and co-parenting is actually going great. Once I remove myself, co-parenting is going great. So,
right, but you're in this
but
bubble.
you're asking
But I'm talking.
You're asking her, and you're asking her.
Right, but we're also talking about it on a cultural level, right?
at
So
large.
not just like first world order, but second and third world order, right?
Yes.
So if you're talking first world, I'm talking second and third world order. What's happening when we move outside of it? How are those things looking? And I think that it needs to become part of the mainstream conversation.
Yes,
I think it needs to be celebrated.
Well, one point I wanted to make, because you don't get to 20 years without having chosen the right partner. And a lot of that is in the men or the people that we choose, that some men in their ego would be like, I'm out playing with Prince. I'm flying to Vegas every weekend and I'm this and that. But that wasn't what was in Adrian's head. It was being a father.
Yeah.
And for him to come home and his daughter to be like, ew, no, who are you? And he's like, no. Let's shut this shit down right now. Like, this is my first order that I need to take care of.
And it goes by so fast.
I love that. Yeah.
It
That's
goes
amazing.
by quick.
Oh, it goes by real quick.
I know. That
we have middle
picture-
school.
with-
Can you
with
believe
my
she's
son.
graduating high school?
I know. But you have to nurture your relationship for sure. And there are conversations that must happen. You really have to listen to each other. You know, it's not like, oh, on the day we got married, we were just right. Like it's like a garden. It's like a garden, and it's nurturing the soil and picking out the weeds and trimming branches. Like you could grow all kinds of different ways. I mean, you could grow a branch way off here if you don't like, okay, I got to trim this back because we are growing together. So it's an active, life together. And all four of, like in my case with my family, like all four of us have to grow together. We're keeping an eye on everyone and
making sure that everyone is being nurtured
loved
and
nurtured and listened to.
I just want to pause this for 1 second because I did not look at the clock. Have we hit an hour? I don't know when we started.
No, I think we started a little late.
What time?
Yeah, we did.
We're at 45:50. Okay, great. So this is perfect. Okay, so before we go, because we're running out of time.
Okay.
I just I wanted to know if there was anything that, in addition, because I love the garden analogy, but for women out there who are younger, who are just starting their families, who are slipping into that, who am I again? Like, and it's definitely an epidemic. Women are getting lost in family. And even if they're working, they're finding jobs that they can do just for the money, not for the passion, because they have the kids, because it's like, hey, this is my responsibility now. What would you say to these women that are listening?
What would I say? I mean, being a mom is not for the faint of heart. It's tough shit out there. It is very challenging.
Especially with all of this technology and internet and all of that
Exposure, you're right.
I think if I were to give some, tricks of the trade to younger moms, within, when you carve out time for yourself, make sure it's real quality time. This probably, I hope this isn't just for me. I hope this is for a lot of other moms. That's who we're targeting, speaking to right now. I hope that there is some exercise in your life. I hope there's like moving your body around, going for a walk. I hope you're able to get out into nature and just clear your mind away from the phone or device, or away from others, and just really have some kind of like meditative moments of, and then coming back and making some lists and really seeing some goals. So follow the North Star in your mind of what it is that you really want to go for, and just know that North Star, it can change where based on the seasons, if you need it to, but have a sense of direction and do something a little bit every day to get yourself there. And I also think it's very important for kids to recognize, hey, mom needs a break right now. So it's a mutual respect thing of a kid will know like, whoa, mom might need a moment to herself. And that is okay.
I think that's salient advice. I would also add to that you were a fine arts major. Everything is so like visual in my head when you talk. But like when you're going after that North Star, right? To know that when your kids are watching you, you're modeling taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
You're modeling nurturing is actually part of being a good mother.
I completely
to continue
agree.
to go after your own higher self's journey.
Having two daughters in Texas.
Wow.
Yes.
I have to very much remind them of their autonomy, their bodies, their brains, their sense of responsibility. I'm very big into that they need a sense of responsibility of what are you giving back to the world right now? What are you doing for others? What are you volunteering? Are you thinking about others? Yes, of course, they get to take care of themselves and, do art and, listen to, their inner voice or discover who that is. But,
it's interesting because the stage of generativity usually happens one stage past where you're at. It's later. You were like that from the beginning. You were like that when you were the cocktail waitress, in New York having a good time, or here, I don't know where you were, but you were always like that. So it's interesting because your daughters are probably, in terms of like their development, they're probably right on. But the fact that you're keeping them like open to this and reminding them to follow that heart, to follow like what is important to not only themselves but to community is huge.
Yeah, I mean, at times I've been like, I've done a very good job of raising some entitled children, haven't I? Like, because my mom was 19 when she had me, and so, but I do tell them, like, now that they're at a certain point where I saw some stuff by having a teenage mom and kind of growing up, but I definitely try to remind my daughters of the sense of like, remember where you came from. Please remember your grandmothers, your grandfathers, your great-grandmothers. Like, we're all in this together. And now we are passing the baton to you, and you better use it wisely, and you have some sense of responsibility.
I love that.
And there are days when you don't feel like doing the hard work, but you do the hard work.
Yeah.
And it'll pay off.
And so many before the girls, the lineage set the path. And so when you say passing the baton, it's like you come from a lineage of strong women and men, and we're passing the baton to you to continue that legacy. That's amazing.
I do think that. And I do think that, I don't want to pass down a lot of, I want them to keep their wits about them, but I don't want them to feel a lot of anger about the world. I want them to be able to navigate, keep your eyes wide open, keep your heart and your mind intact, be a little athlete out there. But I don't want them to have a lot of anger or a lot of, negativity, towards others. That they just have to know how to play it cool.
Identify.
How do they identify in terms of their
culture?
I think they know. I think they very much know their sense of cultural identity in terms of being young Latina women. They're bilingual. They are they're fair skinned. So I think
your husband also
fair?
Latin?
Yes, he is. His first language was Spanish. He was born in Laredo, and so I think that they have to, they'll have their own challenges to kind of like navigate, I think. And that's their stories. And so I do my best to kind of do my very, very best to like listen to them and give them their space, to respect their own perspective of the world, and that it's going to be different than mine. But
it's 2024.
Yeah, it's 2024.
So
it is very different. So they will have different challenges. Some, I mean, gosh, there are times definitely in this state and in this world, to your point, I know that there is a lot of anger and negativity out there. I wish that it seemed like if we used our brains right, we would have been able to figure out how to levitate by now instead of dealing with a lot of like the bullshit that we have to, conquer, but we can't stop. You have to find the balance, though, of doing your part of worthwhile causes, fighting for your rights as women, or whoever you are, but also nurture your soul where it's not going to drown you.
No, I think it's excellent advice. That's why I asked, because I think it's really important for POCs, for people of color, to like not get mired down in those low vibrating energies of anger or resentment, right?
Well, I was going to say, girl, good luck here in Texas having them not be angry, especially because they're so young.
I know.
But I have no fear for Amelie and Marcel.
Thank you.
That you have taught them well, and that they will go out there and be fight for women's rights and other women, because we are losing our rights literally to every piece of our body as we speak.
I think so.
And any woman who doesn't see that it just burns me.
Mhm.
So
well, right back at
as you
y'all.
can see,
Right back at y'all. for-
I'm angry.
That's why we have
Oh,
this.
I
So
know.
hopefully they don't get.
Platform.
I
Hopefully they
know.
don't
No,
get
but
that.
it's interesting because I'm not happy about that, but I'm not angry. I'm actually not even surprised, right? I think,
Why?
I
We
think it's
are.
the, why? The patriarchy. You said it. No, but the reason I'm not angry is because nothing's really changed. And when you get angry, you can't see a way to out of it. You can't see a way to fix it. I'm not saying I don't get angry about things. I'm a human being. But for that one particular thing, it was interesting. I never got super angry about it.
Well, here I'm angry because, and it's not. I know it's the patriarchy, but it's not because of the patriarchy. It's because of the women that are allowing the patriarchy to do what they are doing.
Right, which is great that you see that. But my point is, I like how she's saying, be careful not to get too angry because then you can't see. Like
I know, but I'm not 18.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
So you have to really figure out how to nurture yourself and just train for a long time.
We also need
you
to
know?
educate people. We need to educate these small towns. Like people need to know that they do have a voice. Like, I mean, all these little towns in Texas, how easy it is to just kind of fly anything over.
Yeah. Well, that's why I worked a little bit with voter registration. I probably should go back to it because we got to, those are things we have to do. But I'm in it for the fight.
Definitely.
I'm here.
Yeah. No. And I'm not saying anger because anger is a healthy emotion. We have it for a reason. I just like how she's addressing, be careful not to go too far, right?
Yeah.
It's just finding that balance. You're right. You're not an 18-year-old. You have balance. But I just like that.
Well, because at a certain age, you're hoping that we have worked through some of these issues, and when they come back around, and it's like, oh my goodness gracious, what is happening? And so, I mean, but I do.
It's also a distraction.
To me, one thing that I would recommend to younger, people on planet Earth right now is. For me, it was almost, and nothing against therapy at all, but for me, my therapy is volunteering for organizations that I really very much believe in. So instead of being like, oh my God.
That's an intervention that I give as a therapist. I say, go find something to volunteer and give yourself to. I was, that's how the healing happens.
For instance, last year, I was so... the Roe versus Wade and all that. I was so like, oh my God, what is happening? But I ended up co-chairing the Planned Parenthood event. And so that was where I was almost like, I'm done. I'm done with all my volunteering. I'm good. And then I was like, God damn it. They asked and I was gonna go do it. And my girls came and I'm like, I looked at them and I was like, I am here for y'all. I'm here for y'all. I want you to see me doing this work and I want you to emulate us in the future because there's no guarantees. But life is stranger than fiction right now.
Yeah.
But we've got to do the work. And I do feel some kind of peace about that. It does center me to know that I am doing my best right now and I am working hard to make this. So I do believe that it's possible. I believe in all the young mothers out there. I do. I love that. All those mamas out there to do that hard work. Might not sleep a lot, but wake up early, take care of yourself, exercise, and have a good time. Keep some humor, watch some murder mysteries.
Do what you need to do.
And
Not
then,
no murder mystery. I might get some ideas, girl. I might get some ideas.
and just keep it going. It's Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Celeste, thank you so much.
Well,
thank you.
Tell the people where they can find you, Celeste.
Oh, okay. Well, that Casa Suerte at Lockhart.com. There's a website, Celeste Quesada. I'm on the socials. I'm here. I am absolutely a resource for whatever needs to happen. I love art. I love music. I love being a mother. I love some good times, and I love some hard work.
Yes.
And I love these
Awesome.
ladies. I love these
Thank
ladies.
you so much.
And shout out to all of our mamas.
Yes,
Yeah, we wouldn't be here today
definitely.
without our moms.
Mamas,
Yes.
mother-in-laws, aunties, tias, everybody.
Oh, it takes a
yeah,
village.
Yes,
yeah,
it takes
it
a
does.
village.
I just want to read a couple of lines from Khalil Gibran's poem on children. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. Check out the rest of it. But I love this poem because it removes our attachment to our kids to the point that we lose ourselves. Our children came through us, but they belong to the universe. We are all interconnected. They came through us for our guidance, our love, our nurturing, so that they could grow into self-realized people. But if you stop realizing yourself in the process, they won't ever learn how to do it. They're going to model your behavior. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week. Bye.
Well, bye now.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. If you're confused about whether or not your divine feminine is out of balance, here are a couple things that you can check for to see. First of all, see if abundance is coming to you easily. I don't mean if you're going out there working hard and making a decent living. I mean if abundance in terms of friendship, love, money, things that you want, if they just appear. If those things are happening easily, it sounds like your divine feminine is in good place. If it's not, if you're always feeling some sense of lack, then you're out of balance. And again, this goes for men and women. It does not matter the vessel. We both have divine feminine and we both need it. If you do feel this, the first thing you can do is start going out in nature, allowing yourself to say yes more and receive. And find someone who understands this energetic dynamic and have a dialogue. Thank you for listening.
Every day I wake up and I feel so alive. I think to myself, yeah, baby, it's my time. I'm so alive. I feel